Well, good afternoon, y'all. It's just a little bit afternoon for us, but I'm gonna make a brunch. Y'all come on and make it with me. So I'm gonna make biscuits and gravy. I've got a pork chop cooking. I've got a little bit of turkey sausage link cooking, just the butterball brand. Just a little bit, probably about 2 little chunks of it, because I'm gonna add me some hash brown potatoes to it. And I've got a little bit of extra vegetables I'm gonna cook on the side because my husband thinks that vegetables, are gonna rust his pops or something, I don't know. And so I'm gonna put those in there for me. I've got that sausage cooking up over there. It's just about done. I'm gonna turn it down just a little. I also have a pork chop. Today's probably not so healthy meal, but we got some crazy cold weather coming in. It's just a comforting meal. Nobody's ate yet. We just kind of drank our coffee and our juices this morning. And so we're gonna treat ourselves to a little country eating. All right, y'all, I'm gonna make biscuits and I'm gonna make it kind of Brenda Gant style, except I'm gonna show you some tips and tricks that I'm gonna use in the making of mine today. So my recipe called for self-rising flour, and guess what? I don't have it. So I took 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I mixed it up in a separate bowl, and I mixed it with about a teaspoon and a half to 2 cups of flour, about a teaspoon and a half of salt, and about 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon, which those are equal, of baking powder. Mixed it all up in the bowl, and then I sifted it, y'all. I've got my little sifter over here, and I sifted that flour down into my beautiful pottery bowl that's from my grandmother. All right, so now I have my flour. The next thing the recipe calls for is buttermilk, and I don't have any, so I'm gonna show you how to make your own, okay? Or the equivalents of it. If you like to drink buttermilk, I don't. But if you did, it might not have the exact, components of buttermilk, but it's very similar. So I took me about a cup of 2% milk, and I put about a teaspoon and a half of lemon juice in it. Yes, lemon juice. You can use acid. It has acidic natures to it. You can use vinegar. You can use lime juice. Those all have those acidic components that when mixed with milk, it causes it to clabber up. Not chunky clabber. It just thickens it like your buttermilk. There's probably some suspensions of clabber in there. But we're just gonna let this sit, and I can already, I've done it about 5 minutes ago, and it's already kind of thickening up, and that's what you want. And if you don't get the right consistency that you're wanting, you add a little more. Your biscuits are not gonna taste like lemon or vinegar or lime or whatever. I promise you they don't. My granddad did this for years. All right, I got me a little pork chop over here going. They had them on sale, and my husband likes him a good pork chop every now and then. So I wanted to make sure he had a little extra treat today because he works all the time, so on Saturdays I try to make it a little special for him. All right, so what we're gonna do here is we are letting our meats kind of cook. I'm gonna turn my sausage off for a minute. I have my little bit extra bell pepper and onion cut up for my potato hash. That's what I'm gonna make, y'all, over here in this pan with the turkey sausage, okay? It's gonna be a potato hash. All right, so I'm gonna talk over this. My microphone battery was dead, my little clip-on one. I forget to plug it in, so I'm just gonna try to talk loud enough for you to hear me. All right, so y'all give me some feedback without the microphone. Can you hear me okay? Generally, the stuff that's cooking in the pans, the noise of that sometimes overrides me. So, all right, I'm gonna just mix up my eggs and have them ready. I've got about 5 eggs put in here for 2 people. That's 2 for me, equivalent to 2 for me and 3 for him. And I'm just kind of mixing them up. Y'all see how I'm doing that? And I'm gonna put just a little bit of water. Water. I used to think that sounded terrible, but I actually like water in my eggs more than I do milk. I do, in my scrambled eggs, which is basically what this is gonna be like. All right, so we have that ready now. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna learn how to make these biscuits. So the first step to this is you wanna take, just 1 hand's all you need, and we're gonna take 1 hand and we're gonna make a little well. That's what Brenda Gant calls it. Y'all go follow her on Facebook. Amazing cook. All right, so y'all see that? I made me a little hollow space out, a little well. All right, now you're gonna have you some grease. And we're gonna use Crisco. Crisco's good because you can reach in and grab you a chunk of it. Bacon grease is not, it's gonna slide through your fingers. I told you this is not a super healthy meal. Every now and then treating yourself is not gonna hurt anything, at least in my opinion. All right, so I'm gonna cut off for the amount of flour that I have in here, this 2 cups, I'm gonna do about the equivalence of what Brenda calls it, a chicken egg, okay? And so, is that about the size of an egg, maybe? All right, now if I was gonna be cooking more than what this is, I might need to do just a tiny bit more. We're gonna do one that's like an extra large egg, or maybe 2 small eggs, okay? But if you balled it up, that's what it looks like in your hand, okay? And you're just gonna put it down in here in the middle of that little well you just dug out. Now, your hands are gonna get nasty, okay? You just keep you a nice rag around. The Amish make these rags right here. I love them. We have 3 Amish communities within driving distance, like a few hours. One of them's just an hour away. And so it makes it easy to just, it cleans good. All right, with my pork chop, I did season it with the Everglades seasoning. Y'all, my favorite. Y'all go to Amazon and order you some. Okay, I chased that little rabbit, didn't I? Okay, now we're gonna take a little bit of my buttermilk that I've created here, this just like buttermilk kind of stuff. And I'm just gonna pour it in here. Kind of fill that well up, okay? And now you're gonna take your one hand and you're gonna start just working that what's in the middle, that flour with that buttermilk. And I'm just kind of taking it and I'm just easing inside that well, the inside walls of that little well that I just dug. And I'm just working it into that grease. And I'm working it. And I'm working it. Now we're gonna need to stir these veggies over here. All right, pork chop is looking good. And we're just gonna keep working this, y'all. We're just gonna keep working it. Now I'm fixing to pull that pork chop out of that pan and guess what's gonna go in there? My biscuits are gonna go in there, y'all. And while my biscuits are cooking, because it don't take them long, now I just keep adding a little more. I just keep adding a little more flour from the inside of the well. Don't go scraping your bowl out. I taught my students how to do this at school in our Family and Consumer Science class, which is very equivalent to a home economics class. And they wanted to just mix it all up. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. You just have to keep just working that grease and that buttermilk and that flour until you get a nice dough that forms in there. And then you're gonna pour you a little bit of flour on it. I've got a pastry sheet laid out here and I'll show you in just a minute. And we're just gonna pat that dough out. And then we're gonna take our, I've got me an old-timey biscuit cutter. Look at that. That was my granny's too, y'all. I have so many treasures from my grandparents on my mom's side. I even have a few from my dad's side. And then my husband's grandparents. And then he's lost both his mom and dad. And so when his mom passed away, I was blessed to get some of her things. My dad has passed away, but my mother is still alive. And so one of these days, you know, if life goes as it normally does, I may not have her, but let me tell you, she's already started saying when I go to her house, y'all pick a pot. She got some good pots, y'all. Magnolite, cast iron, everything you can imagine. And she's like, y'all pick you something. And I do, y'all, I do. I love it. The joy of seeing others be able to benefit from your things while they're living is so much better than you missing out on it once you pass away. Y'all, my dough is just about ready. You want it to be kind of sticky. And see, I still have the walls of my flour. It's not as big as it was to start out with, but I'm about ready. You want to just make sure that that grease, that Crisco is all worked up into that, okay? Now, I think we're about ready, y'all. Okay. All right, so see how it's a pretty good chunk here, and it's still a little bit wet, but not runny wet. Can you see that? And I'm gonna, I need to put me a little bit of flour down here. I'm a left-handed, y'all, and I'm not a left-handed person. But I'm just gonna, oh, you know what? What am I thinking? Silly me. I'm just gonna take some of the flour that's already sifted, that's in my bowl. Silly me. And I'm just gonna kind of flour this surface. Now I got my good hand dirty, didn't I? All right, now I'm gonna put this where you can watch what I'm doing. Hang on just a minute, y'all. All right, y'all gonna be able to watch what I'm doing here. Make sure everything's going good over there. Just a few little things cooking up. All right, I'm gonna plop this down here, and I'm gonna take my clean hand, and I'm gonna clean off my fingers. All right. And then I'm just gonna kind of ball that up in the flour, that little flour that's sprinkled on there. I'm just gonna make me like a little ball of dough. You don't wanna net it. You don't wanna roll it out, okay? You're just gonna take it, and I just kind of, I'm balling it up. All right, now let me clean my fingers. I'll have to wash them a little bit here. Wash them in hot water so it'll get that grease off. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's helping me manage things a little better so that, let me turn a light on here a little bit. It's helping me to manage things a little better so that I don't get flour and everything all over the place. All right, so can y'all see this? And make sure you can. All right, I'm just gonna pat it out. I'm just gonna pat it out, y'all. And if it feels a little wet, you just sprinkle you a little more flour in there. You can get it out of your bowl. Oh, I had a little drop of the dough in my bowl still. Okay, I just kind of folded it up. Y'all saw that? All right, now I'm gonna take it, put me a little flour on my hands. Flour helps clean your hands of that grease too, but I'm gonna get me a little bit and flour my hands, and I'm just gonna pat this biscuit out to the thickness, because it'll rise a little bit, but it's not gonna rise a huge amount. So you just wanna kinda pat it out. Okay, all right. You don't wanna pat it out super thin, okay? Well, I need to pat that out again, okay. All right, now, all right, I've got it all patted out. Now I'm gonna take my little biscuit cutter, and I'm gonna cut them. See how many biscuits I can get out of this. Now, keep in mind, I didn't use all of my flour. Probably only used the equivalent about a cup or so. Okay. That's given me 3 so far, y'all, and it's just the 2 of us. The kids might stop in. They may not. I don't know. Okay, here's 4, 5, almost a whole can of biscuits worth, y'all. Let me turn that light, keeps going out. I may have to move you over here into the light a little better. Okay, and 6. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna have 6 biscuits, and I got a little bit of dough here. I could make another one if I want, but I think, you think 6 is enough? Maybe we could make one more out of this. All right, we got these nice and ready. I'm gonna do something real quick. I'm gonna take that pork chop out. I now have a pork chop, and I have some bacon already ready to go with my little brunch I'm doing here, y'all. Okay? I'm sorry, it's a little bit dark, isn't it? I need to get some better light in my kitchen. All right, now, my pan is a little bit hot from the pork chop cooking on low heat. I'm gonna show it to you. My cast iron. I'm gonna stir this stuff over here at the stove before I start putting that in. Y'all hang on with me. All right, y'all, it's looking good. It's looking good. All I have cooking right now is a little extra bell pepper and a little extra onion to put into my breakfast hash. I've got my sausage link that I did those 2 little cubes of. I've got that cooking. All right, so I'm going to, this is already greased with bacon grease. We ain't gonna worry about greasing it. If you had a pan that was ungreased, you'd take you a little bit of that Crisco grease and you'd grease that all up, all right? And I'm just gonna start sitting them in here in this pan. I've got 6 of them. You're gonna hear a little sizzle as you do this. And guess what that's gonna make on the biscuits? It's gonna make a little bit of a crispy on the bottom. It's gonna be so good. All right, I'm gonna pat out. Oh, if I can get 2 more out of this, y'all. Look at this. Let me get this over here where you can see it. I'm gonna pat this out and probably get me 2 more, maybe even 3. I don't know. Now Brenda Gant, she saves it and does fried pies with the leftover. She freezes it or puts it in the fridge. All right, there's me 1 more. There's me 1 more to put in there. And I think that I can pat this out and get me 1 last one. That'll be 9 biscuits, y'all. I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. I can't count. Okay. I believe that's enough. All right, we're gonna move this around until we've got room for all 8 biscuits. That's a whole can's worth, isn't it, y'all? I don't know how much it would cost to do this versus if you bought a can of biscuits, but you're not going to get the homemade goodness out of Pillsbury. Now they're good. I buy them for quick, easy, fast something. All right, I'm going to pop this into the oven on 500. Yeah, 500. Setting the timer for 8 minutes, y'all, just to make sure that I remember to check it, because if I don't check it, I'm liable to burn it. All right, y'all, we got them biscuits in the oven. Now, over here in this pan, I'm gonna move it over here, closer to us, okay? Well, let's move you over here closer too. You gotta see what's going on. Okay, so in this one right here, I already have some eggs. I've already got some eggs beat up, 5 of them, 2 for him, 3 for him, 2 for me. And I'm gonna keep that right here close to me. And I'm gonna put me a little more grease in my pan. Now you can use olive oil if you want. You don't have to use this unhealthy bacon grease. I'm just showing you some country cooking right now, okay? All right, now I'm gonna take my hash brown, stir that grease around. It's melting really fast. All right. All right, pull that up to about medium heat. Probably should have took those sausage pieces out, but that's okay. And then we're gonna throw in this hash brown potato mix, and we're gonna let it cook. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wait just a second on that. All right, y'all, this grease is ready. It's hot and ready. We're gonna throw in some of this hash brown Southwestern style hash brown mix. Now you can make your own. I like to add homemade to things that somebody else has also, in a company somewhere, they've already done some of the work for you. I've got this heat turned up kind of high because I like my potatoes to be crisp. All right, and we're gonna let that just sit there for a minute. I'll throw that sausage on top of those potatoes. I didn't cut up a whole lot of sausage, y'all. And then what I'm gonna do, because it's hard when you turn it, there's no oil in the pan because it's already absorbed it. So I have a little bit of spray oil here that I'm gonna spray on the top of my potatoes. This is avocado oil. It's just what I have on hand, okay? And we're gonna let that cook, and we're gonna add a little bit of my Everglades seasoning. Now, I'm not going to put in my garlic and wine seasoning and all that because we're going to add eggs to this here in just a minute, okay? Can y'all see that good? Let me get you just a hair closer. All right, there you go. All right, now you don't want to just keep stirring and stirring and stirring because it's just going to absorb all the oil and it's not going to really crisp up. And we like our potatoes to be nice and somewhat crispy pieces, and then we'll throw that egg in here, okay? So just bear with us. Okay, y'all, it's ready to turn over. Oh, y'all, look at that little golden color on top of the potatoes. Oh, y'all, it looks so good. And remember how I had sprayed the top of those potatoes? Now they'll have the grease on the bottom to be able to crisp up a little bit on the other side. Oh, y'all. Okay. Now, we're going to check on those biscuits while this is cooking, okay? Y'all, they're looking good. They're looking so good. They're going to be ready to come out in a minute, and we're going to take them out and put them on a platter. And we're going to use that pan that's in the oven right now that the biscuits are cooking in. We're going to throw some biscuit grease in. We're going to add some flour, and we're going to make a good white gravy. A good breakfast gravy. All right, so my potatoes are still just cooking. Oh, y'all, they're gonna be so good. And once I've crisped that up a little bit on the bottom side, see, I've only flipped it one time. I've only moved my potatoes one time. That's what holds them together, keeps them from mushing up. And you don't want to add any salt to your potatoes when they're cooking until they're closer to being at the crispiness that you want them to be. Because if you do, let me tell you what happens. The salt makes the starch release in the potatoes and it'll cause it to stick to your pan. It causes your potatoes to go to mush. So two things, don't season yet, okay? Don't season yet unless you use like an all-purpose seasoning that doesn't have a lot of salt. Okay, I don't feel like my Everglades has a whole lot, and I think just a second ago I wasn't thinking and I seasoned it. But if I'm trying not to move it, don't move it, but just like twice until it's at the crispy point that you want it, and then you can go back and you can stir it around and, you know, get ready to put your eggs in. All right, I think it's ready for me to stir around. Oh yeah. Okay, that's telling me to check those, it's telling me to check the biscuits. I'm going to check them one more time. Y'all, I think they're ready. Let's look at them. Oh, yeah. Look at that nice pan of biscuits, y'all. They got kind of a funny shape because a couple of them I moved them, and when I did, it made their shape change. So these look a little funny. I'm gonna scoop them out and let you see them up close. Oh, y'all, these are perfect. They're perfect. Now, keep in mind, you don't want to pat them out too thin. I don't like super thick biscuits, but if you want to make them thick, you just make more of that dough and make it thicker for whenever you cut it with your biscuit cutter. You can also use like the bottom of a metal can, use your can opener and cut the bottom out and just use the bottom of a metal can, you can do that, but my biscuits are ready. Now you remember how I told you that I'm going to use this pan that the biscuits were in to make my gravy. I'm going to move my potatoes over, y'all. Now keep in mind, those potatoes are nice and hot, right? Well, I'm talking about that. I'm going to throw some grease for my gravy. All right, so those potatoes are nice and hot. I'm going to put it just on low. What's going to happen when I pour these eggs in, y'all? The eggs, when I pour them in, let's go ahead and season it. I'm going to use some of my Everglades because Everglades is not extremely salty. I'm going to put a little bit of salt and pepper too. Here's my salt and my eggs. And then I'm going to put some pepper. Some pepper over here. I'm a little discombobulated. Let's see here. Let me grab the pepper over here. Pepper in here, salt and pepper, and a little bit of my Everglades just to give it that little spunk. All right, and I'm just gonna pour it, y'all, over. Let me put this where you can see it. I'm just gonna pour it over the top of these eggs. I'll let it sit for a minute before I turn it, okay? All right, we're gonna start throwing some flour into this grease. We're gonna let this flour cook up. That was a little chunk of dough. Whoop, that was hot, y'all. Let me pull that fork out. Well, get that piece of dough, goodness gracious. You have to be careful when you pull it out of your bowl because it's going to have some dough in it if you're not careful. All right, y'all. We're going to turn that heat down just a little. And we're going to stir this up. Now, see, I just took bacon grease and I've added my flour, my leftover biscuit flour. And I am going to use my spatula, my whisk, if I can find it here. Where'd my whisk go? Well, for right now. Oh, y'all. All right, I'm just gonna kind of stir this up. Now, you don't want it to get super, super dark brown because you want a white gravy for your biscuits, but it's okay. Now, we're gonna add some milk. And y'all, we're just gonna keep stirring. We're just going to keep stirring that gravy. Y'all, I've hid my whisk from myself. Oh, here it is. It's what I had my eggs. Let's rinse that off real quick. Woo! Y'all going to think she is nutsy. Okay. Get a little more milk. I'll throw in the rest of this little bit of milk, and then we're going to add a little bit of half and half. Just a little bit of half and half to it. Oh, y'all, it's looking good. Can you see it? Now, some people make they cook up sausage and throw in it, like ground sausage. I'm not going to do that today. I have done it. And some people crumble up the sausage. And then some people make chocolate gravy. I'm not making chocolate gravy today. We'll do that in another episode. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit. And you just do it as it's getting hot. It thickens up. And you get it to the consistency that you want it. And then you let it come to a little simmering boil, and then you just turn it off. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and add me some more salt. There was a little bit in that biscuit flour that we made. That self-rising that we created. Okay, pepper. Let's do a little bit more salt. And we're gonna let this just kind of come back to one more simmer. Can y'all see that? Can y'all see that beauty? Look at that, y'all. All right, can y'all see my eggs over here? Look at this. I'm gonna flip it over, and it's gonna be a nice breakfast hash. Oh, y'all, and I'm gonna sprinkle over my bell peppers and onions. It's gonna be to die for. All right, let's get our little scooper fellow, and I'm just gonna turn it over. I've got my burner on just low, because you don't want your eggs to like overcook. Okay, now I'm gonna turn it up on about 3, which is somewhere between very low and medium on my stove. All right, y'all. All right, I'm gonna turn this down and let it just kind of simmer. My eggs are cooking. We're gonna be able to dish this up in just a minute, y'all. I'm so excited. Y'all, I have a mess, but you know what? We can always clean up messes, but we won't always be, you know, around to make these homemade meals. So spend your time making homemade meals for your family as much as you can. Try starting out just a couple of days a week, maybe on your off days like Saturday, or maybe a Sunday breakfast. Okay, you don't want it to start, it'll cook up to the top of it'll foam up or boil up to the top of your pan. You don't want it to do that. So I've cut it way back, I've cut it way down. My eggs are doing good. One side of my eggs had not cooked good, so I've turned my heat back up just a little. Get over here where you can see that, y'all. Get over here close to the fire. Look at those eggs, y'all. Don't look at my dirty stovetop from all this cooking today. I promise it was clean to start with. Now watch what I do here. I'm gonna turn that over and look at how good that is. Oh, y'all, it's gonna be so good. Just see how the sides there need to cook. We're gonna pull them more to the middle. We're gonna let them sit, okay? Let them sit. And we'll probably turn them one more time, and then they're going to be done. All right, y'all, so that's all for today. I'm gonna get it all plated up for you, and you'll see it in just a minute.